If you've ever been on a cruise before or you've been to the hospital and talked to a nurse, then you've met a Filipino. These people are like the OGs of frugal living, and I can say that because I'm 100% Filipino, and even though my last name is Rodriguez, it's pretty common for us to have Hispanic last names. That's why in this video, I'm gonna walk through 8 Filipino habits that are gonna put more money in your pocket, and by the end, you're gonna know one thing from Filipino culture that's gonna lead you to financial peace. Saran wrap everything. This one's pretty funny because I've literally been to friends and family's homes where they've taken saran wrap and literally wrapped their electronics like TV remotes, their DVD players, and in some cases, even their furniture. This is all in an effort to preserve the stuff that they own. I'm not saying you should go into your kitchen and take your plastic wrap and start just wrapping everything up, but there are things we can do to prevent our items from wearing out as well as making sure they don't break. For example, get a good quality case for your phones, as well as a strong screen protector so that if you drop it, it's not the end of the world. In fact, it's never the end of the world because it's just a phone. Or if you own a car, make sure that you do everything you can to maintain it, from getting the oil changed, transmission fluid changed, as well as cleaning the inside and outside. Doing those little things can help prevent you from going through major car repairs and having a chunk of your paycheck being used towards something you could have prevented. Repurpose leftovers. Filipinos have this ability to revive their old leftovers and to turn it into a beautiful main dish. We also like to call that our ulam. It's typically the main food that we're gonna eat with our rice. One of the best childhood memories is thinking of my mother taking like old rotisserie chicken or just cold chicken, throwing it back on a pan, stirring in some mantomas, which is like this liver sauce, and then turning it into this amazing main dish that I'll eat with rice the next morning, or even for dinner. The funny thing about Filipino culture, or probably many cultures around the world, is that we can call anything breakfast. All you gotta do is just fry up an egg and throw it on top of your leftovers, and there you go. That's the equivalent of pancakes and bacon and eggs. This simple habit of repurposing leftovers is also another way to eliminate waste, because that's the last thing they do, of course, out in any third world country, is to have food waste, right? We eat every grain of rice left on the plate and any leftover left in the fridge. Hand-me-down culture. If you guys didn't know this about me, I have 2 older brothers, and growing up, everything in my wardrobe pretty much came from their closet. It was something they either grew out of or just went out of style for them. And for me as a kid, I would only get a couple of key pieces in order to make that my style. I guess that's why nowadays I still haven't developed my style. Like everything I wear is pretty dang basic, but ultimately this Filipino habit, or probably just first generation immigrant American habit, is very good for reducing consumerism. Yeah, like I would grow up and see kids start going from baggy jeans to skinny jeans, or from ankle socks to Nike Elite socks, but I never kept up with any of those trends because I guess I didn't care that much, and I pretty much had everything I needed from my brothers as well. So I think if you're a parent, you can learn from this principle of reusing clothing and not having to go refreshing every child's wardrobe every time they grow an inch or two. As long as the basics are being handed down, like jackets, maybe pants, and sometimes in some cases shoes, you can still allow your kids to express themselves by buying other accessories or maybe t-shirts that fit their personalities. But parents, let me know in the comments, how are you dealing with kids growing up, and how are you using their clothes to their maximum value? I'd love to know because I'm not a parent yet. Shoes off inside. If you've ever been to an Asian's home, they typically have this culture of taking your shoes off before walking around the interior of a home. And for a lot of Filipinos, they have set aside chanelas or sandals that we'll wear as our house slippers so that your bare feet or socks aren't, doing this. But the concept of chanelas or house slippers is another way to preserve flooring, to prevent, bringing in outside germs into the home. And it's also, just thinking about it, a great way to even protect your socks and make them last longer, because you know how people be sliding around on tile on their socks and causing them to have holes in them? If you're wearing house slippers, then not only are you protecting the floors, but you're also protecting your, foot coverings, socks. There's another culture out there where families will literally wear their shoes around their house, on their carpet, in their bathrooms. You know who I'm talking about. Cool Whip containers. There's a popular joke from Joe Coy, the Filipino stand-up comedian, where he talks about him bringing lunch to school in a Cool Whip container.
I'm walking around the lunchroom looking for a place to sit, my Cool Whip container lunchbox. My mouth is watering because I see all these delicious trades going down. I'll give you my turkey and cheddar cheese sandwich for that peanut butter and jelly. I'll give you my chocolate chip cookies for those Pringles. I'll give you my chocolate milk for that Gatorade. And I'm looking at all of them. Does anyone want mango?
This popular habit of reusing old product containers and using it for other purposes like a lunchbox is another way to cut down on waste and to make purchases last. And this principle goes beyond just reusing containers. This also reminds me of how Filipinos will cut up t-shirts and use them as rags or washcloths, or taking old buckets and repurposing them as house planters. If I'm being honest though, sometimes I think this habit of repurposing everything can go a little too far and kind of make your home an ugly place. Like, I don't want this plant to be sitting inside a Home Depot bucket in the middle of a room. So use common sense. If there are still some jars or containers that you could totally use to hold other food items or food storage, then heck, use that. So you don't have to go ahead and make another purchase on Amazon for a fresh set of Tupperware again. Pasalubong. Pasalubong is a small gift or souvenir brought from a trip. For most Filipino immigrants sending something back home to the motherland, it's not anything luxurious. It's typically just maybe a few t-shirts, some like American candies, and if you're from Orlando, Florida like me, a lot of Disney merch. But something I think we can learn from this culture of giving pasalubong is that gifts don't have to be extravagant. When you're sending something to a friend or bringing a gift to an event, it's the thought that matters the most. And the fact that someone was thinking about you on the other side of the world enough to get you a gift from that place, well, we all know it doesn't really matter what that gift is. I believe in our personal lives, we'll be able to save hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year if we remember that small personal gestures are a whole lot more important than just expensive gifts. Karaoke all day. I recently came across this video in the Philippines of this guy singing Bensoon Boone and just like killing it on there. If you guys know any Filipinos, they love their karaoke. Back in the motherland and even here in America, they break out the karaoke for any party and any occasion. Honestly, I think something just happens when someone hands you a mic, you see the lyrics on screen, and the vibes are right. Like, it becomes a good time without the cost. A karaoke machine isn't even that expensive anymore. So once they make that small upfront cost, then that leads to hours and hours and sometimes days of fun. A lot of times when it comes to creating memorable and entertaining moments, we feel like we need to spend money in order to make that happen. Like, yeah, you could go out to dinner, then hit up some clubs and eventually a karaoke bar, but then you're gonna be $80 down the drain in order to have alright fun. But some karaoke at home, order up a pizza, you can have twice the fun at a third of the cost. And finally, that leads to the final habit of Pacquiao fight parties. I have so many childhood memories with family, friends, and Manny Pacquiao on our TV screen. Since we were already talking about entertainment, I want to talk about how much we can save on socializing if we follow some of the principles of these Filipino Pacquiao fight parties. Typically what happens here is one person will pay for the pay-per-view event, which was around $50, and then it would be a whole potluck when it came to food. So everyone brought a dish, and this would be a whole 4 to 5 hour event that created real core memories in my childhood. Social events don't have to break the bank for us every single time. And when it comes to hosting an event, you don't have to feel the pressure of having everything ready for everyone. It's okay to ask help, even in 2025 when most people like to just stay to themselves and not really ask for anything anymore. That's why I learned so much about community while living in a Filipino household, because literally, immediately, once you had that Filipino connection, people welcomed you into things like family. Heck, we got that nice treatment from nurses just by dropping a word of Tagalog or two. But I don't think we need to restrict this kindness and sense of community with just our ethnic background. We can have this culture with anyone we're around, even our neighbors. Not only will you have a more fulfilling life by being connected to other people, but you'll have a more full wallet because you're not having to pay for everything anymore. Like, sometimes it's easier to borrow than to buy something of your own, and sometimes it's easier to do a potluck instead of trying to prepare a fancy 3-course dinner for everyone. If you guys want more frugal living tips from different cultures, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and watch this one where I share some of the frugal hacks that might not be the best idea for you. Give it a click and I'll see you guys over there. Peace.